Hey guys, welcome to the Ancient Paths podcast. I'm here today with my guest, Carrie, and she's a future Christian health practitioner. And we're talking today about the foundations of health and how we can find everything we need for healing, for restoration, for life in Genesis, talking about the Genesis prescription. So hope you enjoy this podcast. Take notes. There's a lot of great information and it'll help get us back to basics. So enjoy. Guys, welcome back to the Ancient Paths podcast. I've got my friend and my partner here, Carrie Wood, with me today. Woohoo! She's our new team member over at the Ancient Paths Wellness office, and I'm so excited because you're on after this girl. After this week,
I'm on my own.
Yeah,
you have a precious baby coming.
Yeah, 39 weeks. So I'm ready. I'm ready to get this baby out and rest a little bit. So Carrie's going to be running the show at Ancient Paths, and I'm super excited. But today we're talking about foundations of health, and you're learning some pretty amazing things. So the title of this episode is Foundations of Health, Wisdom from Creation for Healing with Christian health practitioner Carrie Wood.
Yes, ma'am.
And I should say future health practitioner because
You're graduating in August, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're going through an amazing program, and you'll tell us more about that in a minute. But basically, all that we need for life and life abundantly, all that we need to really live according to our design and heal and thrive is revealed in the
First line of Genesis. So,
Barashith, bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz. I love speaking Hebrew.
Love it. I love
So
listening
cool.
to you speak it.
I know. I'm learning to
pronounce it a little bit better. Not there yet.
But all of life, all of our molecular structure, all of the information for life, everything is revealed within that first line.
Yep.
And we talked about this a little bit last week. I did a presentation at the Weston A. Price meeting on just
The Alephtav,
the foundations of bioenergetics, really, and creation. But we're going to talk practically today so people can really dig in and understand how we can get back to healing according to our Creator's design. So I always tell my clients healing is free. We don't have to buy all these expensive things. We don't have to go get these red light therapy things. And, they're helpful.
Yes.
But all of it is built right into what we
already have. We just need to do it.
We just need to get out of our little boxes, get off our phones, and go do it, right?
Amen.
So Carrie and I met, I guess, about 10 years ago now.
Yep.
On our homeschooling adventures. We were part of the same homeschool co-op, Classical Conversations. That all
Kindred spirits, right from the start.
We were.
Yeah.
We were. We would always talk about, I remember one time at lunch, we were talking about, you were sharing your mayonnaise recipe, and I was talking about what I was learning. I think I was going through the, fasting.
The Whole30?
No, it wasn't Whole30. It was the guy that he healed himself in like the 10 days. Oh, the Daniel fast.
Daniel
the Maker's
fast.
diet.
Yes.
I was going through the Maker's diet, and I was talking about like how seeds, we need to sprout our seeds.
Yes.
Because that's where the life blooms out of it. And if not, it's got this shell and it actually steals life from our body. And you and I were talking about it. The other lady sitting with us at the table was just like, what in the world are they talking about? Sprouting nuts and seeds. But we were kindred spirits, and we were always talking health things and sharing recipes. And your daughter used to babysit for my boys, and they were little.
And she loved it.
I always get the best food at Carly's.
Oh,
and so we were learning. We were on a journey. My journey began a little before I met you, when Chelsea, my oldest, was about 10. And we were in public school at the time. And she was just having some difficulties concentrating. And of course, we went the traditional route. That's all we knew at the time. And they wanted to put her on medicine. And so I was like, okay, we'll try this. Well, I didn't like it one bit. She turned into a zombie and didn't want to eat. And she was already a thin girl. So pulled out the insert, started reading. And I thought one of the side effects was thoughts of suicide. And I thought, oh, Lord, no.
This is my 10-year-old daughter. So we trashed that. I started researching. one of the first books I came along was
The GAPS protocol,
Oh, it's a
gut
good
and
book.
psychology syndrome.
Yeah.
And so started learning about natural ways to heal your body. Discovered Weston A. Price Foundation. So started learning a little bit more.
Yeah.
And just, so it's been a journey. I've been just digging in a little bit along the way, learning. I do have a background in nursing. I had gone to school first for early childhood education and then nursing. And, but as I began to dig into what the Bible says and some of these natural ways of healing that have always been there, it just opened my eyes to so much more. And I mean, it's been a process of baby steps to get where we are. Just at first, starting by taking out the bad oils, taking out, the bad spices, taking out the dyes.
Right.
And,
Yeah, the chemicals and all those things. Yeah.
just learning about that.
So yeah, look where you are now. I mean,
It's amazing.
you're going to graduate and be able to offer all kinds of different holistic treatments and coaching for clients. And you're doing biofeedback now at my office. So yes. So that's
really exciting. But
Yes.
yeah, so we're going to dig more into what you were talking about as far as
just getting back to the basics of healing.
foundations of healing, which I think is what you're going to call your service, maybe.
Yes. Foundations. Yeah.
Because it is foundational. It's all right there in the first line of Genesis, and it's all
Freely available to everyone.
Absolutely.
so we're going to talk today about what those foundations are. So we're going to talk about sevens. We were talking about that the other day in our presentation.
I love sevens. Sevens are
A really cool number. Water is our first. Light, nature or earth.
Yep.
breath.
5 is plant and animal foods. 6 is movement, community worship, which is kind of a lot packed in there, but movement. And then 7 is rest.
Yes.
So let's dig into each of these topics. We were saying earlier, like each one could be a podcast itself. So we're going to try to touch on the highlights.
Yes.
And just share some awesome information about how your body can heal. So,
Yes.
all right. Well, I'll pray and we'll jump right in.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Father, for today. Thank you that you are
The Alahayim,
the spirit of all spirits, the God of all creation. And we just thank you so much for putting all of these things in what you made for us, that you put us in a perfect environment to thrive. And I pray that through this, people would be encouraged. They would glean some new tools that they didn't have before, and they would know that it's possible and they can do it, and their body can get back to basics, get back to healing, even in the age we live in now.
we're so thankful for this information. And as
I pray, as I always do, that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart would be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. And we pray this in the name of your son, Yeshua.
amen. Yes. All right.
So we've got some good stuff coming up at Ancient Paths. I'm super excited for what we're doing. And if you don't know, Ancient Paths is obviously the name of this podcast, but it's also my business that I run in San Angelo, Texas. And
It's a biofeedback service. It's a
health and wellness counseling service. It's an apothecary. We just stocked the apothecary up today with way too many tinctures. You can never have too many herbal tinctures, but Carrie was trying to find space for all of it in there. But we really just want to help people get back to thriving, get back to the abundant life. And so we've been offering that. We've also been adding some new services like methylation therapy, helping your body methylate
the vitamins, receive,
those good nutrients. We just got a PEMF mat.
Yes.
I'm
I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, you're going to try that hopefully today.
Yes.
called the AO Infinity Mat.
It's woven with gemstones and has all kinds of other things. And I've been adding the Aleftav body therapy when I can. I've talked about that a little bit in the Aging in Reverse podcast. But what you're going to be bringing when you graduate and even, implementing now with clients
is huge. So
can you share a little bit about what you're learning and just the whole program you're in and what you're going to be able to offer?
Absolutely. So the school I'm in is called the School of Christian Health and Nutrition. It's founded just a few years ago by Chelsea Blackbird, who actually is local to us. She's out of Sonora. She actually started a podcast a few years ago called the Christian Nutritionist Podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple episodes you sent me. They're really good. I'm listening to the one on Deutonium right now. Very interesting.
Yes. There's so many topics on there. And I had started listening to that a few years back. And then when the school came open, I was always interested in it. I love to learn, especially anything related to God's design. So that's what's been exciting. The way the school is set up is kind of according to these principles that we see laid out in Genesis, the creation story, and the way that God created our bodies in relation to creation.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. So, little shameless plug. If anyone's interested in the school, I highly recommend it. But each of these sections and what we're going to talk about today, the way it's broke down in our school is into modules. So there's actually 8 different modules, 7 different modules, and then 8 because she adds on, our business part of it, and a couple other things at the end. But essentially, each day of creation is, we're learning a month worth of, reading and video and scripture and just really digging in the word and seeing what God has to say about everything, and which I love. I'll be able to offer, the things that you mentioned, the biofeedback. Carly's been training me with that. And she's wonderful as far as the herbs and tinctures. I'm learning on that. So, but
yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, and I'm learning so much about supplements that we might need. In a perfect world, we would just eat great and do all the things, and we wouldn't need supplements or anything. But as we know, we live in a fallen world. It's not the way God intended in creation, and we're going to talk more about that. But we do have some tools in our tool belt to help us. I'll be able to offer hair tissue mineral analysis, which kind of shows you a bigger picture than blood work per se. Blood work is like a snapshot of what's kind of going on at that moment.
Yeah. Chemical imprint of that moment in time.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas a hair tissue mineral analysis digs a little bit deeper, kind of shows, maybe about 3 months worth of tissue storage, like what's actually being stored in the tissues of your body. So along with that, the biofeedback is amazing at picking up energy, frequencies, things that are out of harmony in your body, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we talk about how God created us. He breathed us into existence.
Yes.
And so that kind of lines up. And I will be able to help on a nutrition level, a functional wellness level, interpreting blood lab results,
yeah.
and if anybody needed help with that, I could go that route also. We can help children, ladies, adults.
Yeah.
Yep. Just learning a little bit about hormones. Now there's so much, so I'm not specializing in hormones at this moment, but we can surely help. And a
lot to do with hormones.
Yes, a lot. And even just what we're talking about, just plugging in some of these foundations will help with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
I like what Jesse said in the last podcast. I talked with him about supplementation, and he said, if we're going to talk hormones and you're going to try to figure out hormones, you're going to be chasing your tail.
Yeah.
And so we have to get back to the foundations. Amen. Because if we don't build on that foundation, your hormones are going to get out of whack, right?
Absolutely.
So you had a couple little things you wanted to read, just setting the foundation for what we're going to talk about today. So I'd love to hear some of that.
So part of, our school, as I referenced before, they do have a program, what's called the Genesis Prescription. I will be able to offer that as well. And it'll be like an 8-week course that I'll be able to go through with people and just really getting in more depth into what me and Carly are talking about today. But a couple of notes that I had here, I love the way that God created us. But it tells us, the Bible tells us in the beginning, the earth was just without form and void. Some translations use the words like empty, desolate, shapeless. The Hebrew phrase, which Carly is more proficient at speaking, but the Hebrew phrase is tahu vavahu.
Yeah.
Vovahu.
Yeah.
And which
That's
essentially
beautiful.
means chaos.
Yeah.
Essentially.
There was chaos and disorder. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about how God established order from chaos. So He is a God of order. He spoke structure and harmony into existence. Our bodies are part of that creation. Our bodies are a creation of order. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I love the scripture that goes with that. Most of you have heard Psalm 139, 13 through 18, speaks of how God created us. But we're not meant to live in bodies of chaos. That wasn't his intention. Poor health comes from this disorder in our body.
Yeah, dis-ease in the body. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. When there's chaos, there's not order, then you're going to have ill health. You're going to have ill effects. We can establish peace and health and wellness in the body by following the order in which God established creation.
Yes.
He put it out there for us. It's accessible. He did not make it difficult. God just deliberately ordered the foundation of the universe, which mirrors like our bodies, the foundational needs of our bodies. These needs are unchanging. There will never be a time that we don't need these things that we talked about: water, light,
Breath.
grounding,
Yeah.
breathing, animal and plant foods, movement. So rest. Like there's some foundational principles and so many benefits to living the way that he created it. And we will always need the Lord first and foremost.
Yes.
So I get excited. Sorry.
No, that's awesome. He's
yeah.
our source. That's
He
what we were
is
talking about
our
last
source.
week. He's the source of
Yeah.
all of creation,
Yeah.
of all of energy, of all of life, and you know what holds it all together.
Holds it all together.
Yeah.
And just in this world, so often we just return to chaos just because it's convenient, it's easy. We just choose things that are just out of alignment with what he has for us.
Yeah. And sadly, that's what our society's become. I mean, I can't tell you, you know, I've worked with plenty of clients that I know just do not want to change their diet. They don't want to change their lifestyle. It's easy to go through a drive-through, and
It's easy.
but what's it costing us?
It's costing us our shalom.
Right. So the opposite of that word chaos and disorder is shalom.
Right.
It's complete wholeness, restoration, like everything in proper order.
Yep.
And that's what we want. That's what we were made to be in, shalom. And so when our body is not in that space, when things aren't functioning and communicating the way they should, that's when we have dis-ease and disorder.
Yep.
And so, yeah,
Exactly.
we're going to talk through these 7 points because they're amazing. So the first one I want to talk through is water. Right. So in the beginning, Elohim, Alahayim, I love that in paleo, the
Beautiful.
source of all life, the energy, right? We studied the word for energy in Greek and in Hebrew last time, and it has to do with light, water, force, power. And that's the same word, you know, that we derive from the source, right? Our creator.
Our source. Yep.
And all this started with water. So
Yes.
it said the Ruach Elohim was hovering over the face of the waters. So there was some kind of waste. There was waters that, you know, needed to be separated. And water really is essential to life. If without water, I mean, we'll die. We need it. We're like 70% water. And the memory of water is so cool. I don't know if anybody has studied this, but Noel Hadley, he puts out a magazine every month, and he did a whole magazine on water consciousness and how water just holds the memory of whatever was in it. We did this really cool experiment with honey in my my holistic health class a couple weeks ago, where we put honey in a little bowl and we put cold water over it, and they swirled. It had to be, you know, like good quality honey, not cheap honey. I think it was the honey that you got for me from the local lady.
Local.
Yeah. And the water actually showed the image of a honeycomb. And we were like, what?
That's amazing.
Because it was picking up the memory
Yeah.
of what the honey was holding.
Yeah.
And so water has memory,
Yeah.
which is, again, another reason why they've been jacking with our water and putting all kinds of poisons in our water.
Yeah.
But it's also another name for energy in Hebrew and in Greek.
Yeah.
So water, energy, life. And water does remember things. I mean, we've all heard of the experiment, I'm sure, where you speak words over water.
Yeah.
This Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto,
Okay.
he
don't
spoke
remember his
words
name.
over water, and then he froze them. And then you could just observe the different patterns. And my oldest son, we recreated this for his science fair project. Of course, we did some like good words, some not so good words. I mean, not like bad words, but you know, like
He's a boy.
yeah. But then he did some like funny words. I said, like he did Star Wars and like fart. I wanted to see what the water would freeze like. And it was really funny. But they picked up whatever we put into it.
Yeah.
So like even at the office, I have this water jug and I write words on the water jug, like abundant,
Yes.
health, life, because the water picks that up and it actually goes into our body. And there's so much more we could talk about with water, but like speaking into my water at home. Yeah, no. Abundant, the joy. Yeah, bless your water, because it literally it picks it up. So literally, water is this like living, incredible force of life. Again, it's another word that we get for energy, for source. And so, talk a little bit more about water and what you're learning about how this is, you know, number one foundation to life, water.
Yeah, foundation for sure. And like we said, we could do a whole podcast just on this. And as Carly mentioned, our body is like 65, 70% water. I mean, it's mostly water. Well, as is the earth, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly water. And the makeup of like our blood, the water in our blood and the salt is similar to the makeup of the ocean. Like, so we literally have like the ocean coursing through our veins. Like it's so beautiful, the way that God created us. And sadly today, most people are chronically dehydrated. They may say, well, I just drink water all day. Well, what kind of water? Exactly. Yeah. And it's like you said, I mean, they're putting stuff in our water these days. I mean, Lord knows, all kinds of chemicals, and you'll get, medications that have been flushed down and mixed in. So sadly, you really have to be careful about your source of water these days.
Yeah.
And a way to avoid dehydration is to add some minerals. It's as easy as adding a good quality sea salt. I like to use Redmond sea salt, or a good quality Celtic salt.
Yeah.
Just put a sprinkle in your water, squeeze some lemon to add some electrolytes in there.
Yeah.
There are electrolytes these days that are good. You can try those, but just as a foundational level, just add some minerals.
Salt and lemon.
Yep,
Yeah, that's what I
salt
tell
and
all my
lemon.
clients. Start with
Yeah.
that. And that's all you need.
I forgot what it's called. You could put your water out in the sun just for a couple hours, and that helps
charge it.
Yeah, charge it up. That gets the electrolytes from the sun. And like Carly was saying, water has memory. So there's ways to get those minerals. We need the salt, the potassium, the magnesium. They say in your body that salt goes where water goes.
Yeah.
So if you don't have enough water, it's leaching minerals from your body.
Yes.
To get what it needs.
So true. Yeah.
Well,
I was telling my clients too, like, think foundationally, right? How did people drink water back in ancient times? That's what we're all about, the ancient paths.
Yes.
They'd go to living water, right?
Yes.
So streams, rivers, flowing water. What was it full of? Minerals. All kinds of organic material, rocks. And we're drinking this sterilized, bleached, water that's looking to complete itself, because water is a living creation.
Yep.
And so it's looking for those minerals. And so if you're not getting the minerals in your water, it's leaching it out of your body.
Yep.
And then, the sodium potassium pump. Every cell has a sodium potassium pump that acts. It's like the door the key that opens the door, basically. So I tell my clients, if you're drinking water without a little sodium and potassium in it, that water is going right through you and it's pulling out minerals. So we need to have living water, even if we have to doctor it to get it living. That's what we're never going to be as great as, as our ancestors, as biblical times, but we can do our best, and it's baby steps. But think about some of the things we're drinking that also contribute to that dehydration, like coffee, soda, these energy drinks, alcohol. With all that, I mean, they're just dehydrating. Not saying that I don't have coffee once in a while. I had some this morning, but I make sure to have plenty of water with electrolytes throughout the day to make up for that. That cherished cup of coffee every once in a while. And also like good sourced coffee, because sadly a lot of coffee is one of the most damaging with chemicals and stuff. So also check on that. One reason God made fruits and vegetables, they're very hydrating. So if you're eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, you're getting hydration through that as well, along with the complete package of the minerals, the vitamins. Yes. I'm big on celery juice these days. It's been like my almost every morning, like probably 4 or 5 days a week I juice celery. And when I don't have it, I miss it, because it's so hydrating. In the morning, I just feel like charged for the day, full of electrolytes, cell salts. So
I've been doing that too.
Yeah.
And it's been so helpful. In other ways too, So, another kind of water, which science is finally discovering. I love how science is catching up to the Bible, slowly.
Maybe this stuff is good for you.
God spoke it in creation, so what he said is true, and thankfully more people's eyes are being open to that. But the structured or coherent water, which is also called easy water, our bodies, it's almost like a gel-like substance. It's a living, electrically charged substance that is around every tissue and organ in our body. I just love it. It's like a battery to our body, and the ways that we can charge it is sunshine, grounding, which we'll talk more about. But, we think about plugging in our phone, plugging in, whatever we use every day. But do we plug ourselves in and charge ourselves up?
Yeah.
And that easy water, that coherent water, I love that word, right? Because it's order. It's what God, how God made. But that helps to distribute all these electrons that our body need, So.
And that's surrounding our cells. We just need to give that what it needs to,
and when
be
we
in the proper state.
When we're not properly hydrated, and we talked about disease, when our body's not in order, then we're going to start having dehydration. We're going to start having joint pain, muscle pain, digestive issues, headaches. So there's so many things that go along with that. So water is just the ultimate number one thing to start with. Foundational is to really be hydrated.
So awesome.
And like I mean, maybe a little TMI, but your pee should be mostly clear. If it's yellow or darker, then you're dehydrated.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
And even with your supplements, you want your body to be absorbing them. We talked about that in the last podcast episode, blessing your body, being open to receive.
Yeah.
But great points on water. I love how our Messiah said that if you believe in me, out of your innermost being will flow rivers of living water.
Yes.
Right.
And
we are
he
meant to
is
be life.
the living water.
Yes.
Jesus is our living water.
Yes.
So he's the ultimate source.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Love it.
Yeah,
So
we could talk so
beautiful.
much about water,
I know.
but it's so neat. Check more into it, guys. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about, and again, the order of creation, right? So the Spirit, the Ruach, was hovering over the waters. And then the next thing is, he said, let there be light.
Yes.
Right? Let there be light. And specifically, we're going to talk about the sun and the moon and the stars and how those correlate to the human body and how we are meant to be in tune with them. But really, when we get back to the beginning, that light is the source of energy.
Yep.
And so we talked about that again too last week, how that word ori in Hebrew means force, light, source, energy. And so it's really like this burst of bioelectric communication that was created at the very beginning.
Yes.
And so that light, that energy is essential to life. And then from there, 4 days later, he created the sun and the moon and the stars, all with their purpose. And I think it's really cool that people are finally getting back to the ways the ancients lived. They're getting back to the ways of the Creator, because, for a long time we talk about how, like, because all these other groups and religions and whatever have accepted these things, especially Eastern culture, which is where our Messiah was born, where the Bible was written, is an Eastern culture, that the Western culture, Western, Christianity has been like, oh, that stuff's bad. Don't look at your star sign. Don't look at, and like, that's totally bogus, because it says right here in Genesis, he made them for signs, for seasons, for days and years. And, I talked about this before a little bit too, but my husband and I have been studying just the connection between the sun and men and the moon and women.
Absolutely.
Because the sun is always masculine in scripture, and then the moon is always feminine.
Yes.
And so we're tied to these cycles. Our hormonal, cycles are tied to the sun and the moon. And we are meant to live in harmony with the seasons. I'm giving a shameless plug for this book. This was my pediatrician, my hippie, crunchy pediatrician when we lived in Maryland. But she wrote this book, Dancing with the Rhythms of Life. And it's a beautiful holistic practitioner's guide for women. But she talks a lot about those cycles of, being in tune with the sun and the moon and even the stars. I mean, the stars are a picture of what's going on in the heavenlies, and it's a reflection of what's on the earth.
Yes.
And there's so much more to the stars that we could talk about. But anyway, so let's just talk a little bit about specifically the sun. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about with moon cycling, and I talk a lot with my clients about parasites.
Yes.
And parasites are really active during the full moon. So are nightshade plants. So part of creation, particularly the feminine parts of creation, are tied to the moon cycle. But the sun, is really beneficial for us as well and gives us our energy. And so let's talk a little bit about the sun and just how the sun is medicine.
Amen. Okay. And the sun, S-O-N.
Yes.
And the sun,
first and
S-U-N.
foremost.
Yes. Like, because he is our light. And that's referencing back
the light
to
of the world.
Amen. Like what she said. So, and God said, let there be light. And there was light in Genesis 1:3. Well, that was him. Like he is and was and always will be our light, and then on day 4, he created the sun and the moon and the stars. So first and foremost, like we need the sun, and I just love that. So yes, like you said, God is our source of light, but practical sunshine, and speaking on that, gosh, there's so much importance in that. Every day, and like Carly said, the sun is a cycle. Every day, the sun comes up at sunrise. All light colors come in. We can't see them all. There's like infrared and red. They're there all day from sunrise to sunset. There's colors of the rainbow, which are visible rays of light. We can see those. But then there's invisible rays of light, which we could talk a little bit more. But you want me to go ahead and break down the different kind of parts of the sun when the sun comes up.
Because, we talk about the sun being medicine and
Yeah.
just how important it is. And sadly, we're on these screens all day, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting this blue light that's actually producing cortisol. It's producing
Yep.
stress hormones.
Yep.
But when we get out in the sun, it gives us all of these good, happy hormones. It helps balance us.
Yep.
And there's different times of the day
Yep.
where the sun is doing different things to our body. So let's talk about that.
And this is, for me, it's a work in progress and setting my circadian rhythm. And since I've been really implementing it, I felt so much better. I used to be one of those night owls and I'm going to stay up and sleep in. Of course, that kind of went out the window when I had kids. So, you kind of...
You have to get up
Yeah,
because
you
they're
have to
like,
get up.
hey, what's for breakfast?
Yeah, but I wasn't necessarily like the greatest morning person. So, but since kind of just really digging into all this and learning about circadian rhythm and learning about melatonin and cortisol and all these hormones that are so important, that are the sun helps our body to create those. So if you get up in the morning, the sunrise, even if you just get out there for a minute, it really helps to set that circadian rhythm.
First thing. So get up,
First thing.
stretch,
Yes.
go get some sun.
Yes.
Just go in your backyard, go in your front yard.
Yes. And that's what stimulates melatonin production. So most people don't realize I just need melatonin to sleep. I just need to take this vitamin. Well, melatonin is a hormone that is created in your body.
Yeah.
And sun stimulates the production of melatonin. So, we need the sun, right? And it also stimulates the production of cortisol, which we need. And cortisol is generally higher, kind of, you wake up, it kind of gets going. It's a little bit higher around noon, which is good. Levels off.
Right. That's when you want to get all your activity in. Yeah.
Exactly. And it gradually will start decreasing, or, in the afternoon, evening time, after dinner, it's kind of time to wind down. And that's when your melatonin starts being released with sunset. But let me kind of jump into UVA. So there's sunrise, and then shortly after sunrise, I would say about 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning, UVA light comes in. Okay, it comes in the atmosphere with this UVA
vitamin
light.
A.
Yeah, it's like you can't really see it, but your body, there's sensors in your eyes, in the cells of your eye, in the hypothalamus of your brain that pick up this light, and it's giving signals to your body like, hey, it's time to start producing some nitric oxide. Oh, I feel good.
So
Serotonin's
good.
coming in, dopamine. It's boosting your mood. It's helping with thyroid, cortisol, and melatonin production. Helps you with focus, appetite regulation. Like UVA is amazing. Like it also it helps put a sun callus on your skin, basically like a photoprotector, to where if you are getting that UVB later, which promotes vitamin D. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but helps to prevent sunburn. It conditions your skin to be more able to handle that UVB light.
Wow.
So, so many benefits to the UVA.
So practically somebody on their lunch break should go walk, should go outside, get some sun.
Well, that's when you're
walk.
getting more of the UVB, and yes, that's just as
So
important.
8 to 10 is when we
Kinda
want to
8
get the
to 10-ish
UVA. Okay.
UVA, yes, it's super important. It sets all these foundations
For the day.
for your hormones, especially, and
Wow.
your mood and focus. And it's hard in today's world. Like, not everybody has, I'm working. I can't go outside from 8 to 10. I can't, even if you can roll down your window and stick your head out the window, or even go outside
Sit
for
by
a
a window
minute.
in your office.
Let's try to, it's best to have a window open, because the windows these days have so much stuff
The
in them
blockers
and
in
on
it.
them, and protective films. Unless the house I live in, it was built in the 70s, and the windows are still single pane. I could get some sunlight through that.
Yeah,
but we
right.
just put new windows in, so bummer.
That's when everything shifted the
yeah.
70s. That's when they really ramped it up
Yeah.
after 1970.
Yeah. So just as, even if you can get, 5 to 10 minutes or even less, anything is beneficial. Anything is better than none. So there's that starting point. And then, as you mentioned, UVB comes in. Usually comes in about, 11:30, 12. So just think of when the sun is highest up in the sky, and UVB is amazing. And sadly, it's been vilified these days, but it's really so good for you guys. It does promote vitamin D synthesis. Okay, vitamin D is a hormone created from cholesterol in our body.
Not something we can take in a pill, people. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Go get in the sun.
Get in the sun. And the cool thing about it is that our body stores vitamin D up. So the more you get during the summer when the sun is out and bright, kind of can hold you over through the winter when you hear about the seasonal affective disorder or the winter blues or things like that.
So true. Yeah.
Which actually, you can still get sunshine when the cloud's out. So you may not see it. It may not be visible, but when it's snowing or cloudy or windy, you can still go outside and you're still getting more light than you're getting inside, beneficial light than you're getting inside.
Wow.
So, but the ultraviolet, UVB, sorry, I was going to say the whole word, which is fine too. But it also promotes vitamin D, immune function, bone health, regulates blood pressure, stimulates testosterone production, melanin, which, helps protect or with your skin.
It's your natural sunscreen without smearing chemicals on yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's anti-inflammatory, promotes weight loss. It's antiviral, analgesic, fungal, bacterial. This was back in the day. I mean, they used sun to heal people. They use sun therapy. Florence Nightingale back in the day wanted hospitals to have sun decks and sunrooms, and there are many other people that they use this. Well,
in Europe, they tell people to go on vacation.
Go on vacation,
go on holiday,
get some sun. Yeah, think of how good you feel when you do get sun, and that's because God created your body to need the sun.
Yes.
There's so many things that go on behind the scenes, and then lastly is sunset. So not only is it beautiful, like I love the sunset. It's my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh, especially in West Texas. We have some really pretty sunsets here.
We do, yeah.
You can see so much. But it also establishes that circadian rhythm, like, oh, okay, it's time to wind down. The colors are leaving the atmosphere in the same way they came in the atmosphere. So
it's almost a decompression for the brain.
Yes, yeah. It stimulates parasympathetic mode, which is rest and digest. So it kind of signals to your nervous system, okay, it's time to calm down. Regulates cortisol. Helps with that cellular water we were talking about. Kind of helps order everything, go where it needs to go.
Charge that little gel of water around your cells.
Absolutely. Repair, and then it helps at a mitochondrial level, which a lot of this infrared and red light does help at a mitochondrial level. There's healing and energy that we get from the sun. Sadly, we've hijacked it with all, like you talked about, with the blue light, with being on our screens at night, being on our phones, being on computers, TVs. So what's happening is, people, I can't fall asleep, so I just lay there and watch TV. I just, I look at my phone. Well, because your brain is saying, oh, well, there's blue light. Well, blue light is the highest in the atmosphere around noon. So you're tricking your brain, and it's thinking it's solar noon. And then your body's like, oh, we need more cortisol. You know how you kind of get that second wind? You stay up late, you kind of... Well, that's that cortisol saying, oh, well, I guess it's not time to rest. Let's just pick it back up.
Wow.
So sadly, that's damaging your body because so many important processes happen when you sleep, which we'll talk more about sleep next.
In the rest. The section.
But there are ways that you can help to mitigate blue light exposure in the evening.
Yes.
Turn lights down. Use candles. You can put blue light blockers on your phone. I've got one to where mine, I put like a red tint on my screen, and there's a way that you can do it with Apple phones. If y'all have any questions, you can reach out about that because I can't really explain it. But there are settings on your phone. You can block that. Smart TVs, computers, you can wear blue light blocker glasses.
Yeah, my husband's been into wearing his blue light blockers because he's noticed his eyes have gotten weak because he works behind a computer a lot.
Yep.
But there's lots of things you can do. Or just like setting that boundary. Like, so I've set a timer on my phone to where at 7 p.m. it kind of shuts off unless I put a passcode in.
Perfect.
And that's been so freeing. Like at 7 p.m., I'm like, I'm done. I'm not responding to text. And most of the time. And then I've been putting it in a Faraday bag. So like blackout, I can't even get any signal, anything like that. And that's been wonderful. So even just setting that, I'm done. I'm going to put my phone away. And then, what you said about the sunset's so beautiful too. When we first moved out to the ranch, we have the most beautiful sunsets in our front yard. And I would take, Uriel was my youngest at the time, and we'd go out every night and we'd say bye-bye to the sun and we'd say hello to the moon.
Oh, beautiful.
And he would sleep so well because it was resetting his brain. Like, okay, let's calm down. Let's wind down. No screens. We're not going to do anything like that. We're going to go say goodbye to the sun and hello to the moon.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was just beautiful. So I love all of that. So the sun is medicine. We were meant to live. Live by the sun, right? Rise by the sun, go down by the sun.
Absolutely. So God knew what he was doing when he planned the day, the cycle of the day,
Yeah.
So, and then we'll talk more about the seasons and the month and things like that. So
yeah. Well, and two, I just want to say, you know, I have a few friends that are very sun sensitive. And so they're like, well, how do I do this without getting burnt?
Oh, good.
And, you know, I always say, do it incrementally.
Yes.
Go slow, you know, just get 10 to 15 minutes a day. Start upping your vitamin intake, start upping your, you know, nutrient dense foods. Vitamin A is going to help you synthesize your vitamin D.
Yep.
So taking more cod liver oil, beef liver,
just
what
natural
else do you
foods.
think?
Yeah, absolutely. Staying away from the oils. Like,
Seed
frankly,
oils.
the seed oils are inflammatory in your body. So if they're inflammatory in your body, they're going to be inflammatory on your skin. The sun's going to react. The chemical is going to react to the sun. Another thing is by slowly building that solar callus.
Yeah.
Another thing is try not to wear sunglasses, because
Yes,
that
that
confuses
makes
when
you
you're getting a
burn.
different signal on your skin than what your eye's getting. A lot of us just do it out of habit. I used to wear sunglasses all the time. I just threw them on. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, why do I need sunglasses? I understand, like, say maybe it's, 2 to 4 and you're at the beach and the sun is like glaring. It's super bright and hot. Maybe put them on. But better would be a hat. So you're still getting that signal in your eyes. Maybe put some cover your arms, get in the shade. You're still getting the sunlight if you're in the shade. You're still getting the light.
Or that 8 to 10 window, like you said, because you're building up
that callus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's good advice for people who feel like, well, I always get burnt. How can I prevent that?
And some people, I can't handle the sunlight. It hurts my eyes. That's usually a sign of adrenal kind of issues. And that's something that can slowly be built up also by doing these baby steps with the sun, by resetting that circadian rhythm. And it can be done. It's just a gradual, I've done it. I used to be like, oh, the sun, I'm blind,
I know I never wear sunglasses. I haven't in years
anymore.
Because my eyes just adjust to it, We're
and your
supposed
eyes
to.
will adjust. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, we're going to move on
Perfect.
because the sun, we could
I
talk
know, there's so much
about
more.
that, but just get in the sun, people.
If you do have to wear sunscreen, say you're at the beach all day with the kids, make it a natural zinc-based, without all these chemicals. That's a whole nother thing we could talk about, skin cancer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the sunscreen is causing the skin cancer.
Yeah.
Or, coconut oil actually has an
oil.
SPF, of, I think 10 or something.
Yes.
So Marcella, my friend that was on the Eat to Heal podcast, she just does coconut oil with her kids. And they went to Hawaii, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago.
Coconut oil.
And she just smeared coconut oil on them all day.
Yep.
And they did really, really well. So
Exactly.
again, good nutrition.
Yep.
Building
Hydration.
it up, hydration, and then just use if you have to use something natural and try coconut oil or something very clean.
Very clean. Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to talk about the third element of the Genesis prescription, and that's nature or earth.
Yes.
And so again, after he said, let there be light, he's creating all of these amazing things. We're going to talk about plant and animal foods after, because that's what we consume.
Yes.
But he made man out of the dust of the earth. It said he actually formed him.
Yep.
That's why we're called earthlings. We're earthbound. Our physical bodies are bound to this earth.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful gift, right? We're made to be in unison, in harmony with the earth.
Yes.
I always like to say we're in the womb of the morning. Like the earth is this womb that we're being grown in for eternity, that our soul, our spirit is being grown for eternity. So
beautiful.
it's this space where heaven invades earth. There's this whole heavenly realm that we're just starting to begin to comprehend.
Yes.
And then there's this space on earth that is this kind of counterpart. But we were made of the dust of the earth, of the material of the earth. And so returning to nature, earthing specifically, I've got my earthing, we're both wearing our earthing shoes today, is a great way to reset our body because we're connecting with what we're made of.
Yes.
I mean, the stuff we're literally made of.
I love it.
So share a little bit about what you're learning about earthing and connecting to the earth. And how that just is a complete reset and refresh for our body.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So much learning in the school. And like I said, it's been great. Like she said, we're made from the earth, from the dust of the earth. There's minerals, there's energy, there's so much to be had. Our body is just full of electrons.
Yeah.
We need every day to be charged. Like I said, you plug your phone in, but do we think to plug ourselves in? We send our kids outside to play. Oh, go, you guys are going stir crazy. Go play. Well, our bodies need it too.
Yeah.
We need to remember that. We just kind of go around like we're these robots and we can do it all. Well, but well, it's really affecting our body. We may not feel it immediately, but our body's storing this. So with these, we need to be at a net negative charge, which kind of sounds weird, but just with the electrons in our body,
Yes.
we need to discharge some of this dirty electricity we're getting, things that we're around to and exposed to that we're picking up. Having this electrons in this negative charge helps with our detox, helps with our metabolism, our circadian code again, cell repair, just at a cellular level. There's been so many studies that have been done just with people grounding, putting your bare feet on the grass, on the dirt, on the rocks, your hands, swimming in a natural body of water, a lake or an ocean, being on the beach, the sand, all these things.
Oh, the beach is the best form of earthing. Oh my gosh.
Yes, just think about how good you feel when you go to the beach. It's not just that you're on vacation. That's great. It's not just the sunshine. That's great. But you're connected to the earth, which is the source of...
And the ocean.
And
so it's
the
like where
ocean.
the two meet. It's
Yes.
like our two elements in our body
Yes.
meet, and then we're like,
Yes.
this is the stuff I'm made of.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, your body knows. Like, that's why you feel so good. You ready to go to the ocean?
Yeah, I want to go now. Let's just go.
I promised Savannah we would go this summer. But yeah, just doing all that. Our ancestors, so we've come up with ways to help us. Like we can have certain shoes that help and do other things. We can have grounding sheets and we can have mats in the house. That's great. It's helpful. But the feet are your most conductive part of your body. So just actually literally being outside in the bare grass. Our ancestors, like they worked outside, they lived outside, they slept outside. They were outside all the time. Nobody had to tell them to go outside to play. They didn't know they were earthing or getting electrons. That was life, you know, and we need to get back to, the ancient paths, right? So many benefits. We talked about decreasing pain, stress, reducing inflammation, and another amazing thing that studies have shown decreases blood viscosity. So, which means the thickness of your blood. When your blood's too thick and clumpy, you're dehydrated, leads to metabolic disorder, leads to disease, can possibly lead to cancer, all these other things.
Yeah.
So just getting out there, like look up some studies. Like I can't reference one right now. I'm sorry I didn't write it down. But there are many studies that show the benefits of earthing and blood viscosity.
Yeah.
But
when we get on our phones, there's a great study in the EMF book, EMF Freedom book by Drs. Marcus and Elizabeth Plord. I reference that book a lot because it's amazing. Yeah. But it shows a live blood analysis of somebody after they've been holding their phone for 5 minutes. Yes. And their blood cells go from kind of being, these little donuts scattered to being clumped together. Yes. So we're lack of oxygen. We're not getting hydrated. Yep. And I tell my clients all the time, I mean, I love these products. Yes. I love the Energy Dot products. Yes. I have their dots on my phone, on all my electronics. But if we would just go out and stand in the earth, your body would literally detox the EMF. It would reset itself, and that's free. Yeah.
It's the most holistic form of healthcare. Yes. It's just plugging into the earth. Yes. Plugging into where you're created. We are electrical bodies. You've already said that. We've established that. God established that from the beginning. Yeah. And people think, well, that's woo-woo, that's tree hugger, that's okay. Well, but when you flip that switch, the electricity, the light's going to come on. Right. You trust going to the doctor and getting an EKG or an EEG. That's electrical. Our bodies are electrical. The only way that they can read that is because our body is giving off signals.
The body is electric.
Yeah, our nerves, heart, muscles, brain are all firing electrical impulses. I mean, I'm sure you remember learning something like that in science class. And I don't know these days, but Yeah. But anyways, there's the electromagnetic spectrum, which we can only see the visible light. I kind of reference that in talking about the sun, the rainbow. We can't see the gamma light. We can't see the infrared, the X-ray, microwave, radio. That's how our radio works. That's how our microwave. All these things. So there's called native EMF, which is like we're talking about, the earth, just things that we're around that are beneficial. Then there's non-native.
That's coherent with our body, that literally goes in and resets every cell of our body. Yep. Everything man-made is causing chaos and disorder.
Yep. Right? And it's called non-native or dirty electricity. So our body's picking all this up. Like I literally can feel sometimes, I don't know, it's like my house isn't grounded, the electric. So sometimes I can just, I don't know, feel certain things. But if I go outside and ground, it just almost melts stress away. Yes. So, and sometimes people, well, I don't feel anything. Well, I went out there. Well, you know what? You might be so depleted that it might take a while. You might need 20 or 30 minutes. But right now, I'm just saying, start where you can.
Yeah.
Kick your feet off for 5 minutes or 2 even. I mean, anything helps. Even like touching a tree that's planted in the ground, touching the leaves.
Oh, girl.
A bark.
I used to go on
hugging a tree.
Yes. I laugh because my Venmo picture is me hugging a tree.
yeah.
So whenever everybody's trying to like find my Venmo, I'm like, hey, I'm hugging a tree.
Yeah.
But when I used to go on long car
It's a real
trips with
thing.
my boys,
Yeah.
we would drive cross country every
Yeah.
summer to go visit our family in Maryland. And I'd get out every couple hours. I'd let them run around a playground and I would just go over and straight hug a tree.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even care if I look
The
weird.
thinner the bark, the better.
Yeah, because I would feel reset. I'd feel charged.
Yeah.
My body would be so tired and achy from being in a car and driving, and it would literally reset my body. So go hug some trees.
Yep. As
people.
long as it's like
real.
in the ground. I mean, it can be concrete as long as it's not sealed, not painted. It's on the ground, on the
real
earth.
tree.
A real tree. It has to be planted, not in a pot. Real flowers. Even petting your animal if you're outside. Okay. Disclaimer, I have a little bit of a hard time when it's cold, but I did it. Okay, I wore my wool socks. They're conductive.
Yeah.
Wore my grounding shoes. I would just pet my dog. You're grounding. I'm just going to pet you where there's not a lot of fur.
Because they transfer that energy to us. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so neat.
And then with all this dirty electricity that we mentioned, our cell phones, our microwaves, just things like that, we can't get rid of it. It's the world we live in, but we can find ways to mitigate it.
Yes.
Our Wi-Fi router, you talked about the smart dots. We can turn it off at night.
Yeah.
We can put our phones on airplane mode at night.
Yep.
Put them away from your bed. Mine's still in my bedroom. Mostly I put it on airplane mode unless I'm on call for a baby or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard because I missed a call one time in airplane mode.
Yeah.
Luckily it was okay. I made it on time.
Yeah. I know those windows
Yeah.
of time. I just kind of stick it as far
Yeah.
away from my bed as possible.
Put it in the
my
bathroom. I can hear the alarm in the bathroom.
That's
if
what
it
I
goes
do.
off. Or we can buy an alarm clock. Like if you need to get up.
Old
That's
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's most people say, well, I need it. I need the alarm. You know, well, they have alarm clocks, you know,
Right.
or just turn it up real loud and put it far away from you.
Yeah.
Just things like that can help to mitigate. I have smart dots that I use on my phone. You can get them for your watch. You can get them for your AirPods, your laptop, computer.
Yes.
So amazing.
I know.
You can get these pyramids for your house that kind of
them.
help protect you. So like I said, it just kind of neutralizes some of that dirty electricity.
Yes.
I try not to use my microwave as much. I use my like the
Toaster
healthy
oven.
toaster oven, air fryer. I don't know why they call it fryer. There's no like oil or anything, but you know.
Yeah.
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 Just things like that.
And
Get
I was-
outside.
That's why I tell people, like, if we were outside or in the sun, think about how much you're on your phone during the day compared to how much you're in nature. And let's try to bring balance to that because that really does reset our body. So I love all of that.
Love
Go
it.
ahead. Do you have anything else on that?
I was thinking about grounding, and I was out there one time. I had my phone. I'm like, well, this is stupid. So I just put my phone down. Now I just ground
know.
without my phone.
Sometimes if I have to like catch up on text or something, I will put my feet in the ground on my front porch and just like,
At
okay,
least you're
well, I'm
kind of
kind
being
of
protected.
neutralizing, you know.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So much on that. Just get outside, get grounded. It's free.
It's
the
free.
earth is free.
That's what I love.
Trees are free.
Foundational. Yes.
So yeah, it's right there for us. And it's
Yes.
where we come from. We come from the dust of the earth. So we're going to move on to the fourth one, which is breath. I love this. After, Elohim created Adam, it said he breathed the breath of life, the ruach, into man, and he became a living being. And so the Hebrew word for this creature, this human, this earthling is nephesh, right? It's our living flesh. But when we back up, Carrie's going to talk about some Hebrew words and how that literally represents the soul of a man and the spirit, which comes from the ruach. It's a gift that was given to us from the source of life. Again, another word for energy, which is really cool. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and just the purpose of breath work. And again, like we were just laughing about this before we came, like even like 10 years ago, people thought like breath work, that's woo woo. We're like, breath work that's how we are alive. Like that's the first thing we were given that made us living was breath work. And so sadly we've lost that. We're constantly in fight or flight because we're breathing here all the time.
Yep.
We don't slow down.